Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another round of sound. This is the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown, year number 25 of the program. We thank #1 Cochran very much for their loyal sponsorship over the years, and we have, as usual, a lot to get into. We'll talk about the Penguins. We're going to talk about Blake Hinson jumping on a table down at Duke. But the #1 topic tonight on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown will be the beginning of the Steelers offseason. And here to discuss it is your panel. We have Jason Mackey from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, who does a great job covering the Pirates, but he's here talking about everything else today, and he does a great job with that. Mark Kaboly with The Athletic.
Wanda, shout out, Wanda. We're getting out of the way early.
Wanda, get it out early. And Will Grace from the Associated Press. All right, we'll get right into it. Mark, Mike Tomlin coming back, not a surprise, but to me it was a little bit of a surprise to hear that it will be an outside choice for offensive coordinator, and surprise only because they haven't done that in the last couple of hires. It's been internal promotions, both didn't work out. Was it a surprise to you? And when he said that it's going to be guys with experience in that role, were you surprised by that?
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised that at least he didn't mention Sullivan and Faulkner as a candidate. I thought he would at least throw them in the mix. But, you know, this is exactly what they need. He needs to go out and find a guy that's quarterback friendly, to be able to put points on the board, a guy that has a different type of scheme, a different type of look, and bring him in and to be able to be successful. I mean, obviously they need quarterback help, and there's guys out there that can help quarterbacks offensive coordinator-wise. So I think it's a very smart thing, and I think it's very smart, honestly, too, even to have guys that call plays, which he did mention he'd like to have a play caller. Although then you look at guys like the Tampa OC who didn't call plays until this year, and he looks pretty good at it too. But I do like that. I like the way they're moving forward in that position of being able to bring in an OC like that.
I thought it was weird to limit it to guys with play calling experience, because if you look at guys, I mean, look, there's that famous picture of the Washington coaching staff in 2012, and McVay and LaFleur
right,
and Shanahan and all these other guys are on it. And if I'm an experienced NFL offensive coordinator and I look at that quarterback room, how interested am I in coming to Pittsburgh? You know, I mean, so I would maybe open and cast a little wider net, maybe find a young guy that might view it as a step up, as opposed to, well, I just got to keep this job to keep myself in the league.
Yeah, I think that's interesting, Will. I mean, maybe that happens, right? Like, we're just going off of what Tomlin said about the offensive coordinator and who they want and what they think the best fit is. I mean, what if somebody like Eric Bieniemy doesn't want to come here and they try to? It's completely hypothetical, certainly, but you know, I worry a lot about that quarterback room. Probably a different topic. But
we'll get to it. Yeah,
Mason,
it's
Kenny,
a part
like,
of this whole
how
topic,
good do you
right,
feel about that? I mean, I'm not surprised that they're going to go a different direction with the offensive coordinator. I think they have to. Are they going to land that guy?
Well, I mean, the best. Let's remember the most productive offenses that they've had during the Mike Tomlin era came with an outside hire.
Yes.
Right, with Todd Haley calling the plays.
With
and obviously you had a lot of talent and a Hall of Fame quarterback. But I mean, it was even better than what they had with BA before that, and obviously it's been better than what's happened since. So I mean, I think it just makes sense.
Look at the past 8 years though, or more than that now with Randy Fichtner and Matt Canada, and even two guys now had no play calling experience going back to college. Maybe he's just tired of seeing that and wants somebody with more experience, and he doesn't have to worry about a guy calling plays.
Jason, were you surprised that it was Mike Tomlin saying this would be a three-man kind of search committee? It would be him, Art Rooney, and Omar Khan. And while I think obviously those guys have a say in everything, normally it's Mike Tomlin who decides who he's going to hire on his coaching staff. That's a little bit of a difference for me.
Well, and I think it's a good difference. I think there should be checks and balances. And as Mark and Will are talking about, I mean, there's so much that goes into this now too, right? Like, I would even trade some of the play calling stuff for somebody who's big on quarterback development and can put the quarterback in a good position. I think they've sorely lacked that. I don't have a great idea of what Kenny Pickett is because of the offense in which he played. And I think that's something for this new offensive coordinator, whoever it may be. There needs to be a match with Kenny Pickett, and I'm not sure Mike Tomlin alone is the correct person to determine that.
I don't know if Omar Khan's going to be in on this in a final decision. I'm sure he'll be in the room.
Oh, but search committee.
You know, yeah. But I think most of it. You look at the past. I mean, you look at Todd Haley, you look at Canada to a degree, and it was a lot of Art Rooney stuff here. When Tomlin got here, what was the first thing Art Rooney said? You're keeping LeBeau, you're keeping Arians, right? I can see very much of the same thing. I'm sure Mike's going to have to, sign off on it to a degree, but I think it's mostly going to be Art's choice.
I think that, the paradigm hasn't really shifted that much. I mean, I think, we've been on this panel a lot debating on who's making the calls. Some of these, I remember getting into fight with Starkey. What's up, Joe? Good luck to your Bills. About like whose call it was to fire Canada. So I think Art's hand is in everything. I mean, this team doesn't have any. They don't have other businesses to keep track of. This is it. So of course, and especially, look, he's not getting any younger. The window that they have with this current group, with a Hall of Fame edge rusher, that window is getting smaller. You cannot screw around. And I think if the past couple of hires were internal, and look, what did Mike T say? He said you can't keep doing the same thing and expect a different result. And they are, to their credit, and this happened during the season in firing Canada, they are at least doing some things that we would consider un-Steeler-like.
You know who else's window is getting smaller? Art Rooney.
Right.
I mean, how many more years does he have before he passes over to Danny? And did he win anything, or is that last Super Bowl more DMR? I don't know. I don't know if Art's considered the guy that led this team to any titles, really. I think the perception was Dan, so I'm sure Art would like to have his name fully associated.
Yeah, well, he's counting on them going out and getting a better staff, and there are going to be some other changes. The other part of this is interesting. If they do hire someone from outside, which they say they do, Jason, I want to ask you about that. That means that person might have say in who's on his staff. How much change do you see on the coaching staff in general? And this would also go into the defensive side. Maybe they're going to make some changes there too. But I think there are changes coming.
Yeah, and there should be. I mean, there absolutely should be. I don't think anybody looks at this season and thinks that like everything's okay because, I don't know, they won 10 games or whatever. Absolutely not. I don't know, and I feel like Mark would probably be more qualified to answer this, having covered them on a day-to-day basis. But I mean, respecting the Rooney tradition and what they do, certainly I wouldn't expect a ton of upheaval, but I don't know how you could actually bring in an offensive coordinator and not allow him to put some of his people in place. Especially as it relates, if you're going to say a big part of this is to make the quarterback room functional, you have to have somebody brought in to do that.
And it's one thing to say, you keep Dick LeBeau, you keep guys who've been successful. It's another thing to say, you're not going to keep the guys they have.
Let's remember, literally on the other side of the building, this happened like last week.
Right.
Where the new Pitt offensive coordinator basically fired two of their longest tenured coaches. Good point. And Tim Salem and Coach Powell. So, I mean, I would imagine that, this guy, but I think Faulkner will have a chance to stay. That if I was going to pick one of those guys to keep, that would be the guy I would definitely keep.
I think it'd be within reason, though. I think the new OC would have his choice, but Tom's going to have to sign off on it.
Right.
He's going to have to say this is a guy. And I think that's why he didn't mention everybody's going to be back offensive, whatever, because I think he is going to let that offensive coordinator choose somebody.
All right, we got to take a break on that note. When we come back, we're going to talk about some other things. Cam Hayward is getting up there in age. TJ Watt, Ron Cook suggested they should look into trading him. We'll get into all these topics and more as we continue right here on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown, year number 25. All right, welcome back. We continue with the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown here, talking about the Steelers offseason. A lot of decisions going to be made. Besides the offensive coordinator, the next thing is the quarterback room itself. So Will Graves, a lot of interesting things there came out of that press conference. I was surprised to hear Mike Tomlin said QB1 will be Kenny Pickett. And I realize Mason Rudolph is technically in the free agent status. But I thought an easy answer there would have been, hey, this is going to be if it's really a competition, then say that. By saying that sends to me a message to Mason Rudolph that I'm not so sure you're going to be in a situation where you're going to get this job.
Well, I think he mostly leads because he said that because they technically only have two guys under contract as of March, the start of the league year. And they have a lot invested in Kenny. I mean, they do. And he hasn't played so poorly that you can punt on him. Like, that's the problem. What did he say during this season?
I'm not suggesting that.
When we would pester him about Penny's...
But he did lose his job to Mason Rudolph.
Well, did he lose his job? He didn't lose his job.
Well, yes, he did.
No. I mean, when we would pester him...
Not permanently. He lost his job in the short term.
At the most important time of the season.
When we would pester Mike T about Kenny's numbers, what would he say? Mark, what did he say? Look
in the fourth quarter.
He would say, we get measured by winning. That's correct. That is exactly what he said. And his record as a starter's not bad. So it's not like he's 7-21. I mean, he's 14-10, right? So that's why he said it. But I also think there's some ego involved. When we talk about Steeler-like stuff, that is their loyalty almost sometimes to a fault. They went out on a limb and drafted this guy in a quarterback week class, and now they're kind of like, well, let's roll with him.
Yeah, they have to give Kenny one more shot, I think.
I'm not debating
just one more year.
I'm just
but the thing is you can't go out there and then say, okay, it's going to be a battle between Kenny and whoever else we decide to bring in. If it's not Mason, then Kenny's going to think, what's going on here? This is crazy now. I'm going to battle a guy that's not even on the roster yet. He did say that to a degree. If Mason comes back, I think it should be 50-50, maybe 51-49 of chance here, because I think Kenny does deserve a little bit of the benefit of the doubt right here. But Tomlin's put in this bad situation right there. If he says, yes, we want Mason to come in and battle him, then Mason goes somewhere else, and Kenny's thinking,
yeah.
Where is Mason going to go? Do you think he'll stay or what?
I was going to bring that up to Mark and Will. I mean, do you guys really see Mason coming back? I don't. Do you?
If they
Based
give
on
him
what
enough
Mike
money,
said,
if they give him enough money. Well, I mean, enough. I mean,
hearing what Mike said, if I'm Mason, there is absolutely no way I'm coming back and competing in that. Already once there was a farcical quarterback competition.
That's why
and I'm going to say, based on what Mike said and his comments on Katie, which I understand, I'm not even saying he's wrong, but he's played well enough to open up other options for himself. I'm not going to sit there and say, hey, I'm going to get a fair shake at this, because if I'm Mason Rudolph, I'm thinking that I won't.
I don't know, but I would say a year ago, like, I thought there would have been no chance Mason would come back. None. Based exactly on Jason's point. The way that he was treated during the, quote, competition during the 2022 preseason, which wasn't. I mean, it was all a fait accompli, kind of SAT word. For me, I just think that Mason, I don't know what he's going to get a chance to be a number 2 somewhere else. There was nobody else, unless the 3 teams might view him as maybe a bridge quarterback. But I respect Mason. He did a great job. But the fact that somebody's not going to offer him starter money. So why not come back here?
No, but a starter opportunity.
I don't know if he cares about that right now. I mean,
don't think so?
You think about it, he was talking about being
Look at some of the quarterback play around this league. Somebody's not going to give him a chance to compete for a job.
He's talking about being an insurance guy. He came back because he was going to be guaranteed $1 million this year. He's at the part of his career and his life, pay me. And I think that's where it's going to happen.
I think he wants to play. I think he just wants to play.
I think pay me with a chance to play, not play
him and
with
he
the other
came
way.
back. I mean, they emasculated him and he
it took
came
a while,
back.
but he finally got the chance.
Right.
And I think Mike Tomlin was impressed by that, which is why I was surprised he said about Kenny. All right, we have a minute here. Ron Cook wrote about T.J. Watt. He says they should explore trades for him. Real quick, I gotta go through it. Start with you, Will.
No.
Yes or no?
No.
Mark?
Come on, Ron. Come on, Ron. We're talking about the teams that can turn. I mean, how many teams made the playoffs this year compared to last year? 6 different ones every year. You get a couple players in place. You have Kenny play like he did in the preseason. All of a sudden, they do have an opportunity. You're getting rid of T.J. Watt? Nah.
I don't care what you're getting back. I see the Steelers' record with TJ and without. Right. Absolutely not.
So you're wrong, Ron.
All right, Cam Hayward is he's $22 million in a cap hit, and I know how wonderful this guy has been over the years, but he is getting older in time. Do they do anything? Can they do anything to lessen his number?
Yeah.
Will he be agreeable to
extend him?
Will he be agreeable to it?
He would extend a year.
Okay.
I mean, you can make that a dummy year almost. Give him another year, spread that out, and then get out after next year. He's not going to take a pay cut, and I don't think they would ask him to take a pay cut. I think they would view that as a little bit of a slap in the face of a guy who's been nothing but
given
great
everything.
for him.
You're right.
Yeah.
So
just extend him. I have zero.
Spread
the concerns I have about the Steelers, Cam Hayward is not one of them.
My concern is not with him; it's just the money and all they're trying to do. We got to take a break. When we come back, speaking of money, Jake Gensel is going to get some money. Question is, where is he going to get it? We'll talk about that when we continue right here on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. Well, the Penguins had 2 points sitting right there for them in a very competitive Eastern Conference. And what do? They go flat in the third period, which has been something they've done before. 2-0 lead against a team that was -5 of its regulars, and they lose 3-2 in regulation. Jason, I want to start there. I want to get into Jake Gensel in a second.
Yep.
But this team does this way too much. They have problems on the power play. Malkin won power play goal all year. What do they do to change things up? Can they? Should Mike Sullivan look into different methods?
I don't know what he can do, Pomp. I really don't.
On the power play, you don't think he can?
The power play is a little bit different. You're talking about leads, protecting leads. I mean, what's he going to do? Bench certain guys in certain situations?
Take Malkin off the power play. I would do it. He hasn't been productive. He's too predictable.
But then he was on a heater around Christmas and into the New Year, and he was just fine, and the power play was clicking. We've seen this for years with Malkin. It's streaky, power play inconsistent.
13.9% though.
I know, but it's also beginning of the year being absolutely abysmal. It's been better late. I'm not trying to get behind it.
I gotcha.
I think there's too many cooks in the kitchen though. I mean, one point relative to the Gensel thing in trade talk that I don't quite understand that we're not talking about more is Erik Karlsson. This has not been a smooth fit.
You want to talk about moves? Somebody put him on the second power play, but let's hang back on the first power play. Start there.
I would do that.
I would take that over getting rid of.
I mean, the thing is though, they're so weird. I think they've got like a puncher's chance if they get in. You know, Kaboly's colleague Josh Yohe wrote today that they should keep Gensel. It's because the Eastern Conference stinks, which it might, but like if the Eastern Conference stinks and the Pens are in 12th and we're, in January, whatever we are, like do the Pens also stink? I think they've got like a puncher's chance, like because if they turn that 13% into 20%, then they're winning these 1-goal games. But they also, but like to your point last night, it's just so iffy. They played the Kraken. They came in on a heater. They shut them down, took a lead, shut them down third period. Last night on the road, they let one get away.
Oh, heater's a big word. I like that word. Okay,
yeah,
I have to be on a heater because I have no time left, but I want to get to Gensel here. Mark, you know the deal with him. He's one of the best goal scorers on the team. He's going to be doing a big contract at the end of this. He's a free agent. Can you let him go to free agency and not get anything back? Do you trade? What do you think they will do?
It's tough. It's tough because of two things. If you want to rebuild, which I'm pretty sure the GM wants to rebuild because that's just in his MO.
Not now.
I mean, not now. He's being told not to do this, so, right? I would trade him, but they're not going to trade him because of one person, or should I say one number. 87. He's not going to allow that to happen.
And where's Jake going to go where he's going to get to play next to Sidney Crosby? Right. So I think it's more likely they re-sign him than they trade him.
Sidney's worried about his own line.
How much?
Let's say
he's making six.
He's making 6.
8 years, $64 million. Yeah, because you got to spread it out.
Got 92. You don't think he's in the Nylander range?
I think he would take a discount. I think he would take a discount to. I mean, you're around him. He's not a man who's like driving away in a Bentley. You know what I mean?
I think he really likes it here, and I think you send the wrong message to Sid and fans, given some of what we were talking about with the Eastern Conference being mediocre if you trade him. I just don't think I think I would go other directions to fix this team, and I think it needs fixed, certain areas, but I would not trade Gensel.
Okay. Well, they are going
to dump Carlson.
They're not going to do that.
Wouldn't be against it.
But they should do something on that power play. I agree. The thing about Gensel is they're going to have Jeff Carter come off the books. They're going to save some money in other directions, plus the cap's going up. So should not be a problem fitting him in. We'll see how that works out. When we come back, we're going to talk about Pitt and West Virginia, both with huge upsets on a day you never would have thought that would happen. That's coming up right here on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. All right, as I said, this is the 25th anniversary of doing this show with #1 Cochran as our lead sponsor, and during that time, this happened. You remember Ben Roethlisberger diving in the end zone. This is the 2005 AFC Championship game, which was in January of '06 when they went to Denver and beat Jake Plummer and Arizona to get into, or Denver to get into the Super Bowl, which they won, of course, in Detroit, and that was preceded by the Ben Roethlisberger tackle in Indianapolis. But we're not talking about that in this segment. What we are talking about, Will, I'm going to get to you in a second. I will not keep West Virginia out of this conversation, given their big win over #3 Kansas. But, Jason, Pitt wins at Duke. Now, they haven't played them a lot over the years, but the last time down there was '79. I want to get 2 thoughts from you guys. Number one, how they won, and number 2, at the end, Blake Hinson should have shown a little bit more respect for.
Oh, get out of here,
Pomp.
Pomp.
There was no reason to do that, was there?
He was, other than celebrating and having a huge win. Come on, the no fun police. Go away.
For me, I wouldn't do that. Just me.
Well, yeah, it's because you're you. You wouldn't have to. You
I know
could
what you're
stand in the
going to
center
say.
court. What?
You're going to say because you're old. I know it.
No, I wasn't. That's because you're Blake.
Blake Hinson is also like 38. Blake Hinson's like 38 years old, so he also maybe should have had a little more respect
to him. I mean,
look, when Duke came in here, I covered the game a couple weeks ago when Duke was up here, and Duke, that game was over in 5 minutes.
I know.
And I didn't see any of the Duke players preening to the zoo. So, just.
No, I'm saying.
They're going to be. It's the camera, and they're going to be on you.
ACC, that's the wrong reaction. If this was for some sort of significant win, it wasn't. It was for them.
All right.
I don't want to yell at the clouds or anything like that, but I wouldn't have done it. I know, but Hinson's been struggling, right, as of late.
Correct.
He's been struggling.
He was outstanding.
They're one by their best win against Louisville, or how you call it, Louisville.
Louisville.
Do I complain about it? I wouldn't like to see him do it. I'm not going to say, that's terrible, but I wouldn't have did it. It does look a little bad at 1-6 in the ACC.
But a nice win nonetheless, and they got it. They needed it.
Because of him.
Yeah, because of him.
And to be honest with you, one of the reasons they've struggled this year is because he has not developed the way that he lost all the weight in the offseason. He came back because he knows he needed to be a more complete player to be an NBA player, and he's still just chucking threes. He's not putting the ball on the floor. He's not a distributor. So and he's not shooting. I like Pitt's chances if he shoots 7 for 7 the rest of the way in every game. I like their chances.
All right, real quick, go ahead.
I worry a little bit about their inconsistency and how much they rely on him, and the fact that what Will said, he really has.
West Virginia won. I want to say, I want to give you the
Kansas,
last
fold
word
your
before
program. We
Kansas
stink.
loses. I
We
know,
do.
I was shocked. What was the point
I've
spread on
watched.
that
I've been
game?
in person to watch us play 3 times this year, and we suck. Like, we absolutely suck. A little better with Raekwon Battle, but the fact that Kansas decided to play a defensive optional game yesterday in Morgantown, which they struggled. They're 4-6 in Morgantown.
Yeah.
Kansas is so
It
like
is.
they
But that was
struggle
with
in
Bob
general.
Huggins. I didn't
But
expect this.
that was.
What was the line on that game? Real
Awful.
quick, do you know?
I don't.
I think it was like
to me,
15.
it's more the fact that we score. How did we score 91 points?
I don't know.
I went to the first game this year. We went 4 for 32 in the first half against Missouri State. We scored 91 points
Congratulations
against
to you.
Kansas.
Both teams had a
That's
good.
why I
We
don't
should
bet.
leave it at that. Pitt wins
why I
over
don't bet.
Duke, West Virginia over Kansas. Pretty good stuff. All right, I want to tell you guys about what's going on at Number One Cochran. Since this is the 25th anniversary of this show, a lot of people have bought vehicles from Number One Cochran over the years. Now it's your turn to sell them a car, and they do that, and it's super easy, hassle-free, and you get payment on the spot. The best part is Number One Cochran can pay more for used cars because they sell more used cars. That makes sense, and you can sell yours entirely online at Cochran.com or stop by any store. But remember, Number One Cochran buys cars. It's been fun. We are done. Thanks very much to Mr. Jason Mackey, Mr. Mark Kaboly, and Mr. Will Graves, the pride of West Virginia University. And thank you for joining us tonight. We'll do it again next week, and we'll know who's going to be in the Super Bowl by then. So join us every Sunday night.
Talk about Westminster.
Number One Cochran Sports Showdown right here on KDKA. Thank you, Number One Cochran.